Good day, folks. This is Greg, Judy at Green Pastures Farm. Today I am looking at brush. We had an issue here with the fence line between us and the neighbor, and you can see we keep our side of the fence clean, but their side of the fence, they don't want. It's not important to them to keep it clean. They want it to go back to nature. Well, that's fine, except for when you're running livestock on the other side of the fence where you're trying to make a living and the trees get thick enough, they start doing this. So this tree was taken out right there, great big autumn olive, and it busted my barbed wire fence. I built this fence, they didn't. And this has been 30 years ago. This was put in. As you can tell by the posts, they're all rusted. Heck, there's a tree growing right in that fence line. They're very, just they didn't want anything cut. And so I kind of humored them and didn't cut anything on their side, but I kept my side clean. And finally, it's taking down my wire. I've got a feeder wire up there. It's taking it down. It's breaking barbed wire. Right here, I've got 2 broken wires. I got to fix that because cattle will get out. And then they'll be complaining that our cattle are on their side of the fence. Well, Missouri laws are some of the best in the nation, I think. If they don't maintain the fence, you can. And you can actually, if you pay to have somebody do it, you can take them to court and they have to pay 50% of it, of the cost of either building the fence or, keeping the brush off. If it's going to take out the fence, you can't allow that. You just can't, not when you have livestock. So it's a good law. I'm not going to make them pay for any, but we did it all. The boys came in here, and I mean, they flat went to town. I told them, I said, don't worry about the brush, just stack it in piles, because we've got that. I didn't always have that. I used to stack it by hand. And I'm telling you what, I'll show you in a minute what this thing can do. I've got it kind of stuck in that pile right there, but I'm not going to burn any of this. I'm going to make a habitat. I've got a planned area down here in the middle of this draw. It's going to be a huge brush pile where the rabbits can get in, the birds, and the ground nesting animals can go in there. And I'm going to build some habitat. And the other advantage is it's going to be a huge windbreak so that the cattle on a really cold night can go down in that draw and lay beside this brush pile and get out of the wind. So I'm not burning it. I'm not going to chip it. It would take days to chip all this. We're only looking at half of it, folks. Less than half. It goes all the way down this fence line and then makes a turn at the bottom and goes that away. So I can probably stack all this in, probably an hour. Where if you had to do that by hand, it would take you 2 or 3 days. But we left the trees that weren't interfering. We groomed them up on the sides, just cut the limbs off, and yeah, that's what you got to do. And then we did, if you don't paint that stuff right there, that was painted with a mixture of 1 quart of crossbow with 5 gallons of red diesel. Mix it all together in a 5-gallon bucket. Then we paint with a brush. We don't spray anything. Just paint that stump. And that'll keep it from sprouting back. If you don't paint it, folks, you're going to be right back in here next year cutting this. I mean, it's that bad. We left 1 tree down here. I had to. It's a thorn tree. It's leaning toward that power line right here. And so what we're going to do is take a winch, a come-along. I've got a 2-ton come-along. Just put a chain on the top of that tree. And we're going to make a cut on it and actually jack it back over that way into the brush. And then we'll hand feed it out there and throw it on our side of the fence and we'll haul it off. But see, that tree is going to grow into the power line that feeds our house and our intern housing. Most of the power companies around do a really good job of clearing, but this one, I don't know if it fell off the radar or what. I'm going to show you something. I mean, we've got it on 2 different co-ops. One of them did an excellent job of keeping the brush out. The other one acts like they don't own the power line. I mean, look at this. If we get an ice storm, I know where we're going to lose power at right there. Look at that. It's going right through all that brush. So when those limbs get heavy with ice and fall into the line, we're going to be without power. And yet the other co-op that we're on, man, I mean, they hired a guy. He went through the whole area here. Not only did he take the trees out and around the power line, he ground it up. He's got one of those mulchers. He just mulched it all into the soil. And he did it like I don't know, I bet you it's 40 feet. Look at that, isn't that a mess? And that's just waiting for an ice storm right there. Yeah, I'm gonna make a call to him. I don't know if it'll do any good or not. Maybe the head of the utilities brush control will watch this video and he'll be embarrassed and get out here and clean this up. But that's just ridiculous. I don't know how they expect to keep power on with trees already touching it. Then you get ice on it and wind. Whew, there goes power. Last year we lost power for 3 days. Didn't get it back on for 3 days. And probably do the same this winter. But anyway, right down in there behind that big tree, there's a bunch of cedars. And there's a little bridge that goes down into a draw. That's where I'm going to stack all this brush at. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the beast. I call this the green beast. It's a 75 horse John Deere. Of course, it's a diesel. It's the smallest size that you can buy before you have to put DEF. This one doesn't require DEF, D-E-F. It's a fluid that the government came out with years ago for diesel engines of a certain size. I guess it's supposed to help burn up some of the the more unrefined fuel before it goes out the exhaust. But this one has a cleaning mode on it. I think it's every 50 hours. It'll go into clean mode and it sits there and burns. It runs real hot and it burns all the carbon and gunk. And your power severely reduced for about, I don't know, it takes about 20 minutes. Not that long, probably 15. Watch this. This thing. There's 2 different kinds of loaders, folks. I forgot the number of the other one. I think it's a 260. This is a 240. It's closer to your tractor. The other one extends out even further, and you will break something. You just got a lot more cantilever with that other one. If you pick up a load, look out. You could turn your tractor over. We're making a retaining wall down by the cellar out of those big blocks you buy at like a concrete plant. And so I hauled those home yesterday, and some of those blocks were 3,000 pounds. And I was kind of checking myself. I'm not sure this tractor will pick that up, and maybe it's going to tear something up. But believe it or not, it picked it up without a problem. The problem you get into, folks, this is a front-wheel drive, a four-wheel drive tractor. It's got the real heavy lugs on it down there. There's no way I would have picked up those blocks with a typical axled tractor. You'd have broke your axles. I mean, 3,000 pounds out on the end of that. And you transfer that 3,000 back to the tractor, you're actually picking up, well, probably 4,000 to 5,000. Anyway, this is a great tool for clearing brush. I'll show you why. So I've already clamped. There I am. I'm closing down on it. Actually, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna open it back up. Okay. And now I'm gonna go forward. I'm pushing the whole pile, making it tight. mean, this thing's a beast. And now I've got it all tight. Then I curl it toward the ground, and then I close it. It's still closing. There it goes. Now you just twist it. You gotta close it one more time. I mean, I have got a pile of brush. I'm gonna back away from the pile. It's gonna take 2 trips to get all that pile. I just want to show you how many arm loads. Now that I've got it separated, check this out. How many arm loads it would take you to move this brush pile if you're doing it by hand. I mean, look at that. Now I gotta get over here. The sun's not in my eyes. You can see it better. Ugh. There we go. Yeah, boy, cedar smells good. Look at that. I bet there's 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 pounds of brush clamped in those clamps. Those are called grapples. Unbelievable. You know, as much as I've done with this tractor, I shouldn't even mention it. Probably break a hose on my next trip. I've never broke a hose. But look at that cedar. This will be another trip. I can get all that in one clamp. What you do is you push it when it's real tight, and then you pinch it to the ground, and you do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my first load, and this ought to be fun. I enjoy stacking brush with the tractor. I don't enjoy stacking brush by hand. I've done it my whole life, and starting out, there's no way I could have ever done this, but now that I can, there are some tools that are kind of nice. But folks, you can't start out a grazing operation and buy these tools. You'll go broke. You need to put your money into livestock, and this is something that comes later. Okay, I'm 62 years old. I bought this tractor 5 years ago. So basically I went with that 57 years of my life. I didn't have one. You make do. You just, you know, you hire help, you get young people involved, and you just do it. I would have probably, if I didn't have a tractor with all this brush, I'd have had a central pile somewhere, and I'd have started hauling brush to it. Either chipped it or I'd have burned it. One of the two. But gosh, chipping takes so long. You end up with just a little pile of chips. I mean, all this down through here, if I chipped it all, you wouldn't end up with over maybe a pickup load. I mean, it's crazy. You chop it up in little bitty chips, it just doesn't make much. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here and start stacking brush. Everyone have a good one, and hit that subscribe button on the way out, and we'll see y'all down the road.